You have not missed the bus by any means. If you're thinking about jumping on, jump in.
Welcome back to the Cypress Room, where we dive deep on influencing with integrity. This is a podcast for creators, and I'm Meggie Honeycutt.
And I'm Christina Mascari.
And today we have another interview for you, one of my favorite influencers. I'm a little bit biased because she's also a friend of the podcast. Today we have on Kara Ward from Lemons to Lemonade Furniture. Welcome, Kara.
Hey, ladies. Thank you so much for having me. I've watched every episode, so I am so honored to be here today.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. And full disclosure, Kara is one of my dearest friends. I probably talk to her every day. She's part of my community that I've mentioned on here that's built up of 7 women that are influencers, content creators that live all across the country. We even have one in Canada. And we're actually going on a beach trip that we'll probably already have been on and that by the time this airs. So full disclosure, this one may get a little wild and go all over the place because we know a lot about each other.
Yeah, it might. Yep.
But before I get too ahead of myself, I just want to tell you a little bit more about Kara and everything that she has built. She is a busy homeschooling mom who found financial freedom from running a successful side hustle and YouTube channel out of her garage. Her channel is all about becoming debt-free through furniture flipping, and she has been able to turn it into a full-time income, all while homeschooling her 2 children. You're a rock star.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So I know your whole story, and I think it's amazing, and I want our listeners out here to hear how you even started creating content, because it is such a beautiful story that has an amazing, happy ending and is so inspiring. So can you talk to us about how you started flipping furniture and why you started flipping furniture?
Sure, I sure can. Yes, it started out of total need, scary need, honestly. In 2020, when the world fell apart, my husband works in events, so concerts, outdoor gatherings, big conferences. We all know that when COVID hit, all of that stopped. So on April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2020, he lost his job. We got a call that morning that he was fired from his position. And we didn't know what to do. There was no backup plan at that point. We had just moved into a home that we absolutely loved. I have 2 kids to take care of, a gaggle of 4-legged friends around this house to take care of, and we just didn't know what to do. So sort of on a whim, and it's just this kind of like just the strangest side note, but for a long time we were staring at our own bedroom furniture and thinking how much we didn't like it. We got it when we first were married. It was very dated. And we found this channel on YouTube called Pretty Distressed. And we just kept watching her and watching her and watching her. And Miss Christina taught us how to flip our own furniture. So we went out to the garage and we thought, it can't get any uglier than it already is. And we started painting. I took some pictures. I put it up on Facebook and I said, look what we did in our downtime, because, you know, everybody's locked in their houses at this point. And we had people start reaching out to us saying, will you paint our furniture? And we were in no position to say no. We really needed the money. And so we said, look, we don't really know what we're doing, but if you're willing to let us try on your furniture, you know, I'm happy to flip it for you. And P.S., we really need the cash. So people started bringing their pieces to us, 6 feet apart, of course. And into my garage they went, and we just started flipping furniture like crazy. And in the midst of that, you know, we were getting things off Facebook Marketplace. We were driving around finding things on the street. We flipped anything and everything we could get our hands on, and we just went like crazy because we had so many bills to pay. Oh, how did I forget the most important part? We had $60,000 worth of debt that was hanging over our heads when this crashed down. So it was very much life or death. I mean, it was really that serious. We were like, what are we going to do to keep our home, to feed our kids? Like there was no emergency fund. There was no nothing. We were paycheck to paycheck before all of this happened. So it was very scary times. So we're flipping furniture like crazy. realizing like, oh my goodness, we're actually starting to sustain ourselves a little bit during this. And the next thing you know it, like we not only during that time period did we keep the roof over our head, keep our kids fed, we also managed to pay off all of that $60,000 worth of debt just from flipping furniture.
Wow.
So it was absolutely amazing. I shared just a little screenshot. We took a little debt-free post where we held up a sign and showed how much money we paid off. And I just posted that on Instagram sort of as a whim. And the Dave Ramsey show reached out to me the next day and asked me if we would consider driving to Nashville to tell our story, which was amazing. So we drove to Nashville and we got to do our debt-free scream live on air with Dave Ramsey, which was absolutely, I mean, I still have goosebumps talking about it. It was just so surreal that this was really happening. And it was sort of there that they had asked us previously, like, have you picked up a camera yet and started filming this? Because you really should. And, we were just so tunnel vision. I wasn't even going there, as far as the YouTube channel was concerned. But when they originally reached out and sort of sparked that idea, we were like, yeah, we need to pick up a camera. So by the time we got to the show, we had probably been on YouTube maybe 3 months, I think, at that point. So we did get to share a little bit about that when we were doing our debt-free scream. But yeah, that's how this journey started. It was just full-on necessity of trying to keep a roof over our head and our bills paid. And it turned into something so much bigger than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah, and that's like when you came into my world. It's like hard to remember when we first met because we're so close now. We've been through so much together. And we're going to talk about all of that because Kara and I actually talk about a pinch me moment. We got to go to a Ramsey influencer event together, and we've never got to chat about that on the Cypress Room, and it was a really cool experience. Thanks for joining us in the Cypress Room today. Your support means so much to us, and we wanted to share a new way that you can invest in our community.
We now have our own store where you can get your Cypress Room merch like hoodies, shirts, hats, and more.
And not only can you rep the Cypress Room brand and its mission of influencing with integrity, but your purchase will directly help fund this channel.
That way we can keep bringing you interviews with your favorite creators and all the knowledge you need to help grow your brand and your business.
Our shop is linked in the description box of every video we make, and you can also view pictures of each product tagged in each video, and we really appreciate your support. I guess I started following you on Instagram somehow. I don't know how.
Yes, you did. I remember when you did because I screamed when I saw that you were following.
Well, I was following you on Instagram, and then I saw you hold up that thing with paying off all this debt, which was so encouraging and impressive to me. Like you and I know Lauren, furniture flipping teacher, paid off so much student loan debt. And that wasn't my story. So seeing people being able to actually make like huge strides in their financial freedom by flipping furniture, I was like, oh, that's why this is so special and so important. And so you stuck out to me. So I started following you. And then I saw you're going to be at Dave Ramsey, which is literally right down the street from me.
Yeah.
So I messaged you and I was like, oh my gosh, you're right down the street. And I wish I would have just come and watched you. I think I was waiting for you to invite me.
Yeah. And I was never going to do that because I was like,
I'm not going to be a crazy stalker and like go down there. But like, how cool would that be? Because I was just craving community so bad at that point because, you would have these touch points on Instagram, but I didn't have like a real connection with anybody.
Right.
And a couple of relationships that I had created ended up like fizzling. And I felt a little burned from those. I'm like, oh, I thought we were friends, but I guess we're really not. Maybe it was just a convenience thing. And so I remember messaging with you. And you messaged me back and everything. And then we realized like your husband is from the area that I grew up in around Franklin and Brentwood, Tennessee. And that we were like in high school around the same time. And Franklin and I went to Brentwood, which were like rival schools.
Rival school.
And like he had some time at MTSU when I was up there, like, and he was in a fraternity that I knew, but like there were just like all these coincidences.
A lot of overlap.
Yeah.
A lot.
We didn't meet that time, but I think the next time you came back, because your husband's family is from the area that I live in, you were like, hey, can we meet up? And I was like,
yes,
absolutely. And there's so
there's so many
coincidences that we know or ways that our lives have overlapped, and it's just wild. So we went to church. She came to church with me and my family, and then we went out to lunch like in Nashville, and we have just been so close ever since. So it's so fun to hear you tell that story again. And I want to hear more about why you decided to pick up the camera. You touched on that a little bit, but like, how long did it take you for it to become a thing? Because I feel like you got monetized pretty quickly.
Really quickly. Yeah.
So tell us that story. Like, did you have a video that took off?
No.
Okay.
No. I am one of those. I think it's kind of funny because I always feel like, you know, I go to a lot of these influencer conferences now that this is my job. And, you know, I always hear those people like, oh, you know, I just kept doing this. And then all of a sudden I had this one video and just skyrocketed and that has never happened for me. And the 3 years that I've been doing that has never happened. I have never once had a viral video. So I am here to tell you that it is possible without going viral. But it was just really just consistency. I listened to a lot of Think Media podcasts and videos before we started. After I got done binge watching everything Christina had on her YouTube channel, then I went to Think Media to learn how to actually do this. So I had a lot of tips in my arsenal from Think Media. And so we just started picking up the camera and recording. I made sure that I had 3 videos ready to go from the jump so that when I released, I had enough for people to keep watching. And that really helped. That picked up my watch hours really, really quickly because as soon as somebody found me, then they just kept rolling into the next videos. That is a big tip if you want to be a new YouTuber. That helped tremendously. So they had more content to watch. And then I just made sure that I was in a place that when we launched that I could consistently put out a video every single week without fail. And so we were able to get monetized in about 4.5 months.
Girl, that is like, do you realize how big of a deal?
Very rare. Yeah.
It's a big deal. But I love what you're saying about, you know, we talked with Stefana about, you know, people have this mission to go viral when if you just put out consistent volume of content and you're getting good views on all of those,
yeah,
then they add up to a viral video.
They do.
So
they really do.
I love that point of just putting your hand to work, putting out a good volume consistently can really, 4.5 months is so good.
Good.
Afterwards, it took us 9.
It took us 9 off of a huge following, like on the back of we do not discount like that. Probably more than half of those subscribers and a lot of those watch hours are coming from me pushing it on a very huge platform. And so starting from 0, like that's even harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another thing I think is really interesting is you said you paid off $60,000 of debt.
We did.
Plus kept your family afloat during the job loss before you ever even started recording.
Yes.
Which I think is incredible. So once you did start recording, was it still that same volume of furniture that you're flipping? Or did it slow down? Like, how did you...
Slow down, honestly. I didn't feel the pressure in that beginning time, just so people are super clear on the amount of furniture you have to flip to make that happen.
Yeah.
We were flipping out about 6 to 7 pieces every single week.
Holy
wow.
That gives me anxiety, Kara.
It gives me a little anxiety to think about now.
Well,
I don't think we were constantly covered in sanding dust and paint. That entire year, people were probably like, do they shower? Like, what is going on over there? But we were in fight or flight for that entire time. And so we were just cranking out as much as we can. I apologize to my neighbors a whole lot for the noise, but they understood. Like, it was so sweet. They were very much in this with us. They were like, no, we understand. You got to feed your family, like do what you need to do. But yeah, that is the volume that we went at for an entire year.
Wow.
So once we had finally paid that debt, my husband got a job, December 12th of that same year. So he was without a job, I don't know, about 8 months, something along those lines. So when he got a job and we had that debt paid off, then a lot of that burden obviously was lifted because those debt payments that we were having to make every month were massive. We were paying massive interest on those credit cards when you carry that much debt. And it was just credit card debt. My son was diagnosed with autism when he was 3, and a lot of the specialists that he needed to see didn't take insurance. And so we literally... I felt that we had no other choice but to put all of this on a credit card because he was showing signs of improvement and we didn't want to let up. So it's a juxtaposition, because now going through Dave Ramsey, you know, we don't do credit cards. We don't do any of that stuff. But when you're in a spot like that and there's no way around it, the drive was to get our kid, you know, in a better spot. And that's exactly what we did. So, you know, sometimes I tell this story and I forget to add that piece. And I think it's just really important. Like, we weren't out there buying clothes and cars, and it wasn't that at all. We were literally trying to get our son better, and we accumulated just massive amounts of debt through that whole process. Then that is what was left hanging over our heads when all of this came crashing down.
I love that you shared that, because it's such an important part of your story. And you know, you're just one of those people that I admire, because other people in your circumstance, I think, would just complain and be bitter about that debt and want somebody else to take care of it, because that debt you accumulated was not fair. Like, you shouldn't have to pay for therapies to help heal your son and get your son better. And like, praise God, like where your son is at today. Right. And it's because of the decisions that you guys made and putting him in there. And I think from the outside people, well, how dare you accumulate that much debt? Or like, you should never have to accumulate that much debt. Like, this country is terrible and that should just be covered. And while there might be truth to all those things, like, I love how you guys were just like, this is what we need to do, what's best for our family. And it's not fair that we have this debt, but we're going to take care of it. And I think looking at your business now and looking at Chris's job and everything, and like how your family is flourishing, it's just, I think it's because you guys have pressed in and did things when they were hard, even when they weren't fair. And so it's beautiful to have like a whole picture of what that looks like.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd love for you to tell us, okay, so your husband gets the job, the debt's paid off, and now Kara's an influencer, but without that pressure that you felt before. So what, moving into that new season, what was your approach to this newfound job that you had, and how did you approach it? What were your goals? Kind of changed, right? And how
everything changed.
That a little bit about moving out of that hard season into now you have a platform, you're monetized, you don't have to do 6 or 7 pieces of furniture a week. So tell us what that season looked like for you.
Sure. So it wasn't right away, quite honestly. I have always worked another job. We have always been a 2-person income family. Even though I homeschool my kids, I've always had a job that has been flexible with me around that. So my background is in the business side of medicine, which is interesting that now I'm a YouTube influencer, because they don't seem to correspond whatsoever. But strangely enough, they do, because so much of this is about business, and that's something that I really love. That's a part of it that I really, really just enjoy. So I still had my job. I managed a birth center, so I had a midwife with my second child, and we formed a really great connection, and her dream was to open a birth center, and my background is the business side of that. So I was like, you birth the babies and I'll do the rest. So we built a beautiful birth center. I was honored to just help her come alongside her dream and help her build that. And so we had that going for a really long time. And I was still going there part-time during COVID, because people didn't stop having babies during that time. And that is really good job security. So even though I was working that job and Chris was home homeschooling the kids, and, you know, I'd come home and we'd start flipping all the furniture, like we were doing all the things. So when he got a job and that debt was paid, we were able to sit down and just really crunch the numbers. And the YouTube channel had already been monetized at this point. And he said, you know, it really doesn't make sense for you to keep working your other job. You're going to have to pull back. And you are actually costing us money at this point by going to work, which was shocking to see it on paper. So I feel like we were just in go, 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 that I never sat down and like really looked at income. And so it really wasn't until we did that I was like, I am costing us money by going to work, which is mind blowing, because this is something this influencer thing was not on my radar. So to see it like that, because I thought when this was all over, I was going to stop and I was going to go back. Life was going to go back to the way it was. And that's not what happened. So yeah, I was able to quit my medical job and pour into the influencer side of things. And I did not have to flip that much furniture anymore. Now I was just doing a piece a week. And it was mainly for the channel, because the channel and the sponsor, at that point we had started, the sponsorships started rolling in. The channel and the sponsorships were making double what I was making at my real job.
Wow.
Yeah. And I want to highlight that you're not someone who has these huge, crazy numbers to go tout about, but it does. And this is what we're always preaching on here, is that those numbers don't matter when it comes to making money, because it gets me a foot in the door a lot where I shouldn't necessarily have a foot in the door. But I'm looking at you and you have where you're sitting at today. I know you're under 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, but you just hit like 60. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm under 100,000. I'm around 65,000.
How many views do you have on your channel lifetime, though? I bet you know that.
Oh, over 6 million.
Yeah. So and I know last year, we can talk numbers if you want to talk numbers. We don't have to be too specific if it scares you. But I know we just had a conversation recently where you're like, Christina, this is how much money I made last year. That I made a full-time income and I'm still homeschooling my kids, which, hell, if you don't homeschool your kids, that is like you have 2 jobs.
Yes. Yes. I do have 2 jobs, and that's real. But I think the important thing that I like, that especially this past year, as I was telling Christina, it's tax season, so we're getting all the receipts in place, and you're looking through things, and you're it sounds terrible because I am a numbers person and a marketing person, and you'd think I'd have better grasp on this, but I think I'm just wearing so many different hats that you don't sit down very often and kind of crunch everything. So when it finally came time to that and I sat down, I literally text her, because I was like, you are not going to believe this. But and I will share, I think it's important for people to know this, but my income last year almost came close to $100,000 between sponsorships, YouTube money, and all the other areas that this takes me in. And in my eyes, I am not a big channel. I am a macro influencer, so I have about 65,000 on YouTube, but I didn't start there at the beginning of the year when these big numbers started coming in. I did have a video that I had maybe 3 videos over the last year that went really well. Like I said, I really haven't had a viral piece of content, but I do have videos that get 500,000, things like that, in a long span of time. They don't just go, they just kind of go. So, it's sort of important to know that you don't have to have that massive viral piece to make these types of numbers. So yeah, it was really shocking to sit down and look at all the receipts and everything that came in and realize that's 4 or 5 times what I would make in my normal medical job. So the fact that this works and you don't have to carry these big crazy numbers is still really shocking to me, but I think it's a really important piece of information for people to know. If this is something you want to pursue, do not feel like you have to go out and have Mr. Beast type numbers to make this kind of money, because you really don't.
I think this is so important.
It's so important
for people to hear. Not only because maybe you don't have a crazy following, but you're also pretty focused on one platform. You're not over here doing all the things, and you're still having success. You're still making full-time income. I think this is what people need to hear, because I think even us getting intimidated by trying to do all the platforms and spend all the time, and you're really showing us that you can put most of your time and your focus into a platform like YouTube, consistently put out the content, and you can make a great living from that. I love it.
Yep. And you picked if you were going to just pick one platform, you picked the smart one to pick.
Yeah, I would agree. I agree with that.
Has the most potential for stability if you're willing to commit to putting consistent content up for a season. Because I know we're both kind of in the transition where we put up a video come hell or high water, every for a couple of years. And once we had that cushion of like, we have this backlog of videos, we've seen the success, like we don't feel pressure to put a video up every week. I think you're kind of in the boat where you start pulling back and you're like, if I can get 3 up, great. If I can get 2 up, I'm going to do that. Like I'm not going to ghost, but I'm not going to feel this pressure that I have to have a furniture flip up every week, because what we do, I mean, and every niche is different. But we know our niche really well. And flipping a piece of furniture and recording it and editing it on your own and getting it up on YouTube in a week span and having that consistently, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot of work because the projects are just so long and so in detail. And everybody who's watching you on YouTube wants to see every detail. They want to see every product you're using. They want those products linked. You have to come up with a great thumbnail that people are actually going to want to watch your video and click through. And editing, like neither Kara and I have editing background.
No.
Taught ourselves. We know what we like. We don't want it to be trash. We want to have the transitions. We love watching YouTube, so we try to make our videos look like YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of
time. Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah. And we also know that furniture can go wrong on you in a split second.
Oh, yeah. I'm a sponsor into that and all.
Oh gosh,
show. And if you have to get approval on that video before it goes live, it just throws all these other things into it. But something that you're doing, that you've been doing for a couple of months now, that I'd love for you to talk about, is you are deciding to not only slow down a little bit, but offload what you can offload. And I know you've been working with an editor.
Yes.
For a couple of months. So, and I know you're just in the beginning processes of that, but anybody who's feeling like overwhelmed with where their channel's at, like what advice do you have for them about working with an editor, and how's that been going for you?
Sure. Well, I think it was something that I built up to. I think that is something that you have to do. I didn't, like we've shared, I didn't have gobs of money from the start when I started this. I think if you do, then you can hire and hire and hire. And that is awesome. But that was not where I started by any means. Like Christina was saying, I am all self-taught in editing. I have no background in this whatsoever. Luckily, there's tons of apps and things that you can purchase and put on your computer that make that life a lot easier. But there's still a learning curve to it, right? But once I got, we kind of gave ourselves this number of like, once you start making this amount of money a month on YouTube, let's see if we can take a portion of that to lighten the load. Because my kids are getting older. My oldest is finishing up 9th grade, and my youngest is going into junior high next year. And so the load on me, being a homeschool mom, is about to increase as far as the subject matter and the content and the things that we have to teach. It's about to be a lot more weighty than it is in elementary school. So I have to start making room for that. And one of those things that we agreed to was hiring an editor to help take that off of my load. Because it will take me, because of the industry that we're in, and this is not for everybody's industry, obviously, all the things that Christina was highlighting, there's a lot of content to get through at the end of the week when you have a full furniture flip and everybody wants to see every little detail that you've done. It can easily take me 6 to 8 hours to edit a good video. And that is an entire day being locked in my room. And I do not like that part of it. The editing portion is probably my least favorite thing out of all of this. And so that's when, when we finally were hitting that goal number that my husband and I gave ourselves, it was like, what do you hate doing? I don't like editing. Okay, let's find an editor, because there's people that do it better than I can, and, in a lot less time than I can. So that was a move that we made, I think in February. Yeah, somewhere around there, I think we started that journey, and it has been so helpful. Like, I got him all the footage Monday afternoon, and it's amazing. I almost I've caught myself yesterday, sort of like, I'm supposed to be doing something. No, I don't have anything to do. So it's really interesting, but I'm very grateful for being able to add that component. And I think that's another thing that when you dive into this and you watch a lot of content creators like vidIQ and things like that, and Sean Cannell's Think Media, those are things that they talk about. Like when you get to a certain point, you've got to start outsourcing because there's so many things that keep adding onto this job that you have to realize you can't do them all. So find the thing that you really don't enjoy doing and start there and start pushing those pieces out to others who do it better than you or faster than you. And so that's the point we're at this year. But it took me a little bit of time to get there, and that's okay. I learned a lot along the way. I learned what I like, what I don't like. I've watched so many YouTube videos. I watch a lot of people that are not in my niche. That's mainly the thing that I watch, is people not in my niche.
Yep.
And I don't know why that is. I mean, in the beginning, obviously all I watched was furniture flippers, but now I watch it more. I'm looking with a different eye. I want to see what I like about that channel. I take notes. I think, how can I put that in my video? And I'm watching these people that work in other spaces and getting inspired by them and trying to twist that into, okay, how do I do that as a furniture flipper? Because she's really keeping me interested and engaged. How can I do that? And so, yeah, I'm trying to put all those pieces into place now as we're going a little bit further down this journey.
Yeah, this is why you're so successful, because you're just really smart. And one thing I want to tell about Kara is that she has done every job under the sun. Like, we will be just having, like, oh, I did that. Did you know that I opened chiropractic offices across the country? And did you know I used to be a cocktail waitress at this? Did you know I used to teach dance and shit? Like, I'm like, are you serious? Like, every time I'm just messaging, oh, yeah, I did that for a season. I'm like, of course you did. So, like, nothing.
Yeah.
Anymore.
So true.
And I think what's so great about you, like, I don't get too much into the Enneagram, but like, I know that you're an 8, right?
Yes.
Or I self-diagnosed you as 8.
I have an 8.
Kara is not afraid to be like, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. She gives feedback in a very direct way, but is not unkind about it. But as like someone who's on the other side of the Enneagram, that's like a people pleaser achiever. Like, I'm like, oh, like, I don't really like the way that you edited that. But it's fine. It's okay. No, Kara, like, when she started it with this editor, she got her first edit back and she's like, I don't like this. I don't like this. And you need to be returning me this within 24 hours. I'm not okay with this 48 hours. And you're paying for that. So you should be. But like, and so it was really great for me to watch you go through that process, because I'm like, okay, these are the things that when I do hire people, I need to be like, off the bat, I need to be assertive. And like, yes, there's grace for people as they're learning. But you're paying for a service, and you also need to tell people, like, this is what I need, because if it's not helpful, then it's not going to help you. And so I loved watching you walk through that process and how you've handled it. And it seems like, you know, as you get that first video under your belt, as you get that second, that third, that seems like the process gets easier. So I want to encourage people in that too. Like, it's not a magic switch that you flip when you add help. You have to still be a manager and tell people the way you want things to go, or it's going to end up being more work for you. So don't be afraid to hire. And when you hire, don't be afraid that it's not perfect right away. You have to manage and train somebody to work under you. This is your brand. You have to give them the knowledge that you have to make your brand consistent. And it's going to be growing pains. But on the other side of those growing pains is this freedom of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I should be locked in my room all day editing. You don't have to, because you don't have outfits that. And he's managed it to a point where you're not having to hold his hand as much. So that's very encouraging for me to hear. And if I get in a spot where I want to hire again, I know I can go to Kara and be like, I need some help. Do you have some recommendations?
Yes. Yes. I would love to hear how this Enneagram 8 personality comes into play when you're negotiating brand deals.
Oh, yeah. She's really good at that.
You are very good at that. You are such a go-getter when it comes to negotiating brand deals. So tell us about what that has looked like in your business.
Start with the breakdown of like, what is brand partnerships, what is YouTube AdSense, what's affiliate, where are your different income streams coming from?
Okay. To answer Maggie's question, yes, pitching brands is probably the funnest thing I think I do in this job. That's the thing that I wouldn't want to farm out so much. I've farmed it out a few times, but it's one of those things that I'm just like, I think I want that piece back. I think I'd rather put out some of the other things, and I'll take the brand part back, because I really do. I love that. And so a little bit about my background, and this is funny because it's like I'm not living in my glory years, but I was the president of Michigan DECA for the entire state. So
see, that's another connection. Sorry, we have a really close friend that runs DECA for a local high school.
Yeah. DECA is near and dear to my heart. So if you are someone listening to this and you have a kid that wants to get in DECA, push them into DECA. It has blessed me over and over and over again in my life. I've used it so many times, and I totally use it in my job today. So it's very interesting. My high school teacher, Mr. Piles, would be very proud of me.
I love that.
He was my favorite teacher in the whole wide world. So anyways, he taught me well, but my the brand portion of my income is definitely 50% as far as sponsorships go.
Yeah.
I go after sponsorships hard. I have a lot of people companies that come back to the table time after time. I think I have 3 companies right now one for sure that I've signed a year contract with. And anything they put out comes across to my desk first. So I get first right of refusal, whether I want to push that product or not, which is awesome. It's a great company. They're great to work for. And then there's 2 other ones that I don't have yearly contracts with, but they're constantly coming back. And so we have built a really great rapport. And that's a huge part of it, is just, first of all, I like the niche that I'm in, as far as we've got DIYers. We have 85% women is my channel viewership. Most of the women are in my age range. So I know what they're going through. I know what they're feeling. They're usually moms of teenagers. They're starting to go through menopause, all that fun stuff that we go through at our 40 plus. And so I like to speak to them. I like to bring them products that make sense for their lifestyle. I like to bring them things that I like and I use. And so when you have products and companies and sponsors that provide those things and that you use and you talk about and you're excited about, that shows in your video. I really like the things I promote, and that shows up in the way I promote them, and that leads to higher conversions for them, and that's what they want, right? So it's a great system in a whole. And so I always follow back up with them. How did we do? How did it go? Look at the views, that kind of thing. What else do you have down the pipeline? When can I hit you up again? Let's do something else. Like, that kind of stuff. Another funny thing is, like, I love video games on my phone. There's one I play consistently, and I actually didn't hit these people up. They found me and they said, "Hey, would you do a video for us?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is something I'm actually already playing this game." And I gave them a whole breakdown, like what chapter I was on and all this stuff. And they were like, "We love you. Please work for us forever and ever." So they're another one that just constantly comes around. And it's just little things like that. Like, I really love this product. Let me promote this for you. My people are going to love this product. And that gels with them when you're excited about what they do. That really gels with them. And so that really helps me time and time again bring partners and sponsorships to the table. So they're a big portion of my check. I like doing that kind of work. So I'm always gobbling it up every time I find a little opportunity.
Yeah. And what I love about what you're saying, I was thinking about this this morning when I was thinking about, what are we going to talk about? I love that you're talking about this, because you don't chase after these pie in the sky brands that are going to elevate your status. You are trying to find things that you really like, that you enjoy, that are age appropriate, that fit your audience too. So there's not like this pretentiousness with you, because you're not like looking for that brand to elevate your status. Well, I worked with, Coca-Cola or Target or Walmart. You're literally working with just like everyday type of products that are, I guess what I want to say is like not sexy or not like flashy. Yeah. There are things as like, I'm just going to say it. I'm a premenopausal woman. There are lots of things going on with me that no one else is going to understand, but a huge portion of my channel is that like 45 plus.
Yes, yeah.
And really thinking about, because those people are my people that are ride and die. They're the people that have time to come and watch me and hang out with me. And so when I, talk about, I don't want to be inappropriate, but I think we just get stuck in this thing of like, I have to be cool.
No,
It's like, you don't have to be cool, and people honestly like you better when you're not cool, and you use products and talk about products that have nothing to do with furniture flipping.
Not at all.
More
I really don't even go after furniture flipping.
Yeah.
If they show up, and I love that. I still love that stuff. Obviously, I have to use it. So when those show up, that's great. But I don't actually pursue those companies at all. I pursue things I use in my everyday life.
For someone who feels like they're stuck, because specifically in the DIY niche, there's just like only so many influencers that a paint company is going to work with. And, you know, particularly in our niche, there are a lot of mom and pop shops that just do not have marketing budgets. So you get to a point where you like tap out. But a product like you're talking about appeals to a mass amount of people.
Wide range of people.
Let's be honest, there are a lot of people that watch our videos that are never going to flip a piece of furniture, that are never going to buy a jigsaw, that are never going to buy.
Exactly.
Never going to do it. They just like spending time with you and watching that before and after, just like, you know, a HGTV show. And I think you have just gone about it in such a smart way. So I think this is going to be encouragement for anybody who's just been chasing after brands that they use like in their content, and like you can think outside of the box and have success in it.
Yeah, I want to dive a little deeper into that, because I'd love to hear your process of approaching these brands and how you sell them on your channel, which maybe they had never thought of putting their stuff in a furniture flipping channel. And what are you selling them? Are you mostly doing like a product commercial at the beginning and the end? Tell us a little bit more about that process.
Yeah, they normally, what most of my sponsors want is that 60-second commercial in the middle of a video or within the first 5 to 6 minutes of a video is typically what they ask for. I've done a few just, you know, full videos for a specific company, and I've done some UGC and things like that. But the majority of my people that come back just want that little 60-second spot, which is great. It works perfect for me because I can have my usual audience that I know is going to show up time and time again, and then I can tell them about this thing that I'm using that I'm really excited about. And that's where I feel like my greatest return on investment comes from for those brands, because that's what they consistently ask for. Even the ones that I work with time and time again, they want that 60-second spot in the video. So
are those brands looking for a certain amount of views on your video, or are they looking for conversion clicks from you and actually sales from your link?
I've only worked with one brand that has asked for, we want a certain amount of views in a certain timeline one time. And I think I'm getting ready to work with them again. And the second time around, they did not ask for that. So that's interesting. They must have just liked whatever happened on the last video. Yes, I hit the mark, but for some reason, they weren't asking for that viewage again. So I work with a lot of companies that are really just interested in getting their name and the product that they sell out there. It's not even necessarily about the click or the purchase on the back end. They want brand awareness. And so I do a lot of brands that just want brand awareness. So people recognize them and they say, oh yeah, I saw so-and-so use that. I like her, therefore this must be a good product. So I get a lot of that as well.
Oh, that's so smart.
It is smart, and good for you for finding the brands who are savvy enough to realize that brand awareness is important too, instead of hustling a creator for a certain number of click-through rate on a link. But I'd love to know too, are these brands also wanting your commercials for their own use? Are you doing licensing deals as well for this content you're creating?
Every once in a while. The one that I have the year contract with has that in their contract. We negotiated extra for that portion of it so they can use it on their websites and things like that. But everybody else, it's really just they want that 60-second commercial, and that's it. So I don't know. Yes, they try to put that in the contract sometimes, and you have to watch out for that because you really should be negotiating higher if they're going to take your stuff and use it elsewhere, and you're not just solely in a UGC type of contract, as you guys both know how that works. But so normally when you throw that extra money on the table, they won't take it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they won't. But if they're taking it for their own, but typically it's just they just want it in my video. They're not asking to have it on any other platform besides the one that I work with for the year long deal.
Oh, I think this is just going to be such encouragement for people who just feel like big numbers and big views are the way forward. I think you're going to give freedom to a lot of people that they don't, and this is why we do these interviews, because it doesn't have to look one way. It doesn't have to look the way that you see the people on Instagram being like, follow me and I'll give you the 10 tips of how you become a 6-figure influencer in 1 year. So I just love having these conversations and letting people into like the real deal, what really happens.
Yeah.
And I know that you probably have an NDA on this, so you probably can't talk about it, but I do want to highlight that because YouTube is just really smart, you guys. It's the smartest platform. They invest so much in making the platform better and supporting creators. And I know Kara just got invited to a shorts like program. And so she gets all this training on the background. They're testing out tools and stuff with her, and she can't discuss any of it because and told you it. But I've been on panels before for YouTube where I get to test out products before they go live to creators, and you get to give your feedback, and then to actually see those things come to fruition is really, really cool. And again, Kara is a smaller creator. I say smaller. You're a big deal to me. You have millions of views, okay, and to make you a full-time living. But from the outside, Kara's a creator that has 60,000 subscribers, and she is part of one of these YouTube programs and one of the first people to test out things. And, they see value in her channel, even though she's not Mr. Beast. So in a sea of creators, like YouTube, I think cares about their creators more than any platform.
Yes.
So maybe you could talk about how you feel like supported about YouTube and why you're glad that you've chose YouTube as your mate for life.
Yes.
I call Instagram and TikTok like the really bad boyfriend that you want to have and like treats you like crap. And, YouTube is spouse material.
And they really are. It is spouse material, right? Because a lot is expected up front.
Yeah.
A lot is expected up front, and you have to be in a place where you're ready to make that commitment. Another spouse material.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to pour time into this because in the long run, this is going to be a good investment. And that's exactly how YouTube works. YouTube is consistent, and they don't change their rules a lot. The plan forward is very clear. They know what they expect you to do to hit the things that you need to hit to make the money on their platform. And they do not change that every other day like a lot of these other platforms do. And that's what I love about YouTube. I like things very black and white, and YouTube is very black and white. So that might be why I've had some success there, is it's clear and it's easy for me to understand. But yeah, they pour into their creators a lot. So they saw something in my channel. You don't get a whole lot of detail when you get invited to these things, but they saw something in my channel, and they really want to help me grow. They actually know that my goal this year is to get that silver play button. That is one thing that's on my list. And so when I was filling out a survey for them, I put that on there. This is what I want to do. And lo and behold, 2 days later, I got this invitation. And they're like, we want to help you get there. We want to help our creators grow. And that meant a lot. That meant a lot to me that somebody's actually reading that and being like, looking at the back end of my channel going, yep, she's got potential. We're going to pour into her. And so a lot comes with that program. And like Christina said, there's not a whole lot I can share. There's really exciting things that they're getting ready to roll out on YouTube. You have not missed the bus by any means. If you're thinking about jumping on, jump in. This is the time. They're hungry for more of us to show up on their platform in any way that we want to. So I appreciate that as a creator. It makes me want to stay consistent with them and to continue to show up just like a spouse.
Yeah. And the thing that's fulfilling about YouTube, when you're making these long form videos, it's not about the views because you're teaching people something. I mean, there is just entertainment based stuff on YouTube, but what we do, like, we're letting people into our lives and showing them like, hey, if you put your hands to something, it can change your life. Is the message underneath the physical work what we're doing? But the physical work we're doing, we're showing you how to use a jigsaw. We're showing you how to use a sander. We're showing you how to stain something. So you could literally have no experience and watch our channels and learn something. And education and knowledge is so powerful. And I'm not saying that Instagram and TikTok and Facebook don't educate people, but YouTube is the number one education source. And so I can feel good about the content that I'm putting out and that I'm not just like putting trash out into the world. Not saying that people don't, but I don't know. It just makes me feel good. I'm like, I'm literally teaching somebody something. And I recently, you know, my daughter did a flip. I don't know if your kids have done flips, but my daughter did a flip and she just did it. Like I wasn't teaching her as I went. Like she basically has watched me enough.
Yes.
She knew like what to do just by absorbing, by watching my videos or watching me work. And so I think that's just something that's super powerful about YouTube. That's not going to change. Even as short form content takes off and like people are on that platform more, like I just feel like these videos are never going to die because you're teaching somebody a skill that they don't know how to do.
Yeah. Right. And they're always going to be going on and searching for that skill. So whether you made that video 3 years ago or last week, it's sitting there ready for them to view. And so it's not like Instagram where you're digging through somebody's profile to find a 30-second fast forwarded clip of them doing a project really, really fast. You actually get the time to sit down, drink a cup of coffee and watch their process and go, oh my goodness, I think I can do that. And I know that because that's what happened with me.
Oh my gosh, so encouraging. Okay. So I want to talk just briefly about the Ramsey event. And maybe we have to have you on again and do just a separate podcast with this. But again, this was one of these pinch me moments for me and Kara. Like I got interviewed by Rachel Cruz, who's one of their personalities, about furniture flipping as a side hustle. And they wanted to talk about like, well, can people pay off debt? And I remember I mentioned Kara and I mentioned Lauren for Lauren teacher. Because I was like, I didn't have any debt. I just wanted like a pretty home on a budget, which is also part of their story too.
Yeah.
So I remember mentioning them. And then a year later, they contacted me and said, hey, we're going to do this event where we fly these influencers in and we're going to give you training on how to like build up your brand. We're going to give you training on how to do public speaking. And just have our staff that is a major media corporation in the country that is so successful. We're going to give you like all our tools and trades for free. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, sure, I'm in.
So surreal.
And when I got that invite, I was like, the person who should really be invited to this is Kara, because she's like followed some of the Ramsey principles to help her get out of debt. She's been on the stage to do her debt-free screen. And she's paying off debt, flipping furniture, and sharing it on YouTube. She needs to be here too. So I was like, I have like, can this person come too? And they're like, oh, absolutely. This would be great. So I don't know if you have like a favorite moment that you want to share from the conference. It might be too hard, but
how do you pick a favorite?
It was amazing. Just that they do stuff with such excellence. And I know people are like really controversial about Dave Ramsey because they like to eat out and like to spend their money and think he's a boomer and like that his principles are old. But I will tell you, when we went in his facility, seeing the names of all these people that have paid off millions and millions and millions of dollars in debt, and now they are free in their life and they don't feel like they have shackles and burdens anymore. I'm just going to like look at that. And like sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. And it's okay. But yeah, it was their staff did things with such excellence and just encouraged me in my brand to go to like the next level of what's my brand about and just putting out content. And it was fabulous. So I'd love to hear your favorite experience.
I don't even know that you can sum it up. Like you said, we could do a whole separate podcast about this, but I think the things for me that were just, the whole thing is still so surreal, honestly. And we're months and months out from that event, almost a year now. Yep. And it's still just, that was the highlight of my year. And I honestly think it's going to go down as like top 5 things in my entire life that I've actually gotten to experience. But I know Christina is sick of me just like loving on her, but I think the viewer has to understand that like, I am a person at home who turned on YouTube and watched Christina, who I did not know, flip furniture on repeat so that I could learn how to do this. And then all of a sudden, she's like in my world. Christina's one of my closest friends. Like she said, we talk almost like every day. I was gonna say almost every day, but we talk every day. How many people watch YouTube and then that person is real to them? It doesn't happen. And so that is surreal. Then I get to go to this event with her, hosted by the person that Dave Ramsey, who literally changed our family's financial background. And that's the biggest thing to me is, so like, I'm going to this event with Christina, who's literally changed the trajectory of my family's life from watching her on TV. Then I'm going to this event with Dave Ramsey, who's changed our family's financial future. It's more than a pinch me moment for me. Like, it is absolutely surreal. But I think my favorite thing, besides being there with you, Christina, because that really took the cake, honestly. But that very first day that we sat in the small room where they film the show, and it was just a small portion of us. I don't think everybody had shown up yet. And there's Dave talking to 25 of us, maybe, were sitting there, and he's just right here. Like, you could walk out of your seat and go touch him, and that was just surreal. I remember a few times just thinking, like, you want to rub your eyes and be like, am I really here? Like, listening to him talk. And I know he can be sometimes controversial and people can think this or that, but the biggest thing about it is that it's life-changing, and it's like anything else, paying off debt it's hard in the beginning. You have to do a mind shift with what your priorities are. And I think that's why people sometimes get tripped up about him. And I know the whole credit card thing, everybody's got feelings about not having credit cards. I get that. I do understand it. But when you are bad with credit cards, you should not have a credit card for a portion of time. And if you go back to that, maybe, but maybe you don't, because you can't manage it well. And if you can't manage something well, you don't need to have it. And that's really the point that I think he's trying to drive home, is that you got to do if you want to be in a better spot, you got to do a mind shift. And so people don't like constraint. And there's a lot of constraint when you start, the Dave Ramsey financial thing. You live a lot lower than you're used to living, and some people don't like that, and that can trip them up. But if you want to change your future, that's exactly what you have to do.
Yeah, and I get, like, it's kind of coming full circle to me, like, hearing you say this, and I'm trying to receive what you're saying to me, because at my core, I'm just like, I am just a regular person. Like, of course we're friends, Kara, like, but I'm trying to receive, like, me just pressing record and putting myself on YouTube, the impact that had on you. Because I have to be aware of that, because why am I showing up if I'm not aware of that? And yes, sitting in that room with Dave and realizing what one man's what one man's obedience, what one man's discipline, the ripple effect that has had. So, right. And like hearing your story about hearing how my video had an effect on you, and now you're teaching other people how to flip furniture to get out of debt, and the ripple that has had. Right. And like, in our life, it's very rare that we physically get to see what our words, what our actions touch, and the ripple effect that they have. But it's just, and we talk about God and Jesus on this podcast, and I have to bring him into this. Like, God is a multiplier. Yeah. And I am only standing here and doing what I'm doing today because God asked me to, and because he blessed it. And honestly, I probably wouldn't still be doing it if God didn't tell me to keep going, because I've asked him several times, can I quit?
Right.
Can I just go back to being a mom and like nobody knowing who I am? And like, I'd be really great at serving my family, managing my home again. God, I won't take it for granted. And he continually tells me no. He's like, no, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. And in these moments, it's like, okay, like, I understand. Thank you for giving me a glimpse of you're sowing seed. Like, he's throwing seed out, and he is using me, or he's using you, or he's using Dave to change people's lives. And then those people change somebody's life. And then those 2 people change 3 people's lives. And then those 3 people change 10 people. And like, if you think about the math in your head and how that ripple effect just like can, out of one person saying yes, it's so powerful. And we never know the reach we have. We don't. So you can't walk in having that as your accolade and hanging your hat on that. It just has to be like, I know I'm walking in the will of God. I know I'm walking in obedience to what he wants me to do. And he's doing whatever he needs to do with it. And I may never know the reach of that and the touch of that, but getting moments like this where you actually get to experience what that could be is just so powerful, and it's so beautiful. And I'm just so glad you're in my life, and I know this story, and So thank you for all of that.
Yeah, I think it's also evident, like just giving evidence too of, when it's much easier for divine appointments, like a friendship and community to happen with the yes. And when you're moving forward in those faith steps with the yes, because a lot more happens more actually in motion, doing the things that we're supposed to do than just waiting for it to happen on its own. And I think that's a really neat part of this too, because it was a divine appointment, but it took 2 yeses to make it happen.
For sure.
So good.
Yeah. And I thought I was like good with friends, and like I kind of keep my circle small. Like I love everybody and I will go deep with you if you want to go deep, but who I kind of let into me is a small circle, just because of, I got a lot going on. I got kids, I had a business, I got, older parents, there's a lot going on. So when Kara came into my life, I probably would have been like, I don't have room for anybody else. You know what I mean? But God, like at the beginning of last year, I was like, okay, what is going on this year? What am I doing? And he just put this word community in my head. I'm like, what does that even mean? What does that even look like? And he put Kara's name in my head. And he put another friend we have, Willessa, who's a Life Refurbished on YouTube. All I had was those 2 people's names. And I thought I had to make it happen in my, God gave me this word and he gave me these 2 people, so I got to make this thing happen. So all I did in obedience was reach out to Kara and I said, hey, I feel this thing. I got your name. I got this word community. Can we start meeting? And I had this whole idea of what it needed to look like and all the things. And Kara was like, oh, me and Willessa are already doing that. And we have another friend who's in it. Would you like to join? And I was like, yes, I would love to join that one. Thank you so much for letting me join. And there's a long story attached to it, but it's now developed into this relationship with, 7 of us where we're on Marco Polo, where we're talking every day about business stuff, but we're also talking about our families. We're also praying for each other. Yeah. We're also going on a beach trip that Kara helped organize next week. So we're so excited about that. But what that has taught me is how important community is, because I don't think I'd still be YouTubing and all the things if I didn't have those ladies supporting me right now. Yeah. How important it is to be around people that are different, that have different backgrounds, that grew up differently than you, that are from different places, that think different things, so that you're not in a silo and an echo chamber. They have really stretched me and sharpened me and grown me this year. And I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it. All I had to do was say yes. And it was already there, and I didn't have to take charge, and I didn't have to be the leader. And so being able to surrender, I got to make all these things happen. Sometimes there are just things there for you that you just have to say yes to if you just take that first step. But in my mind, I didn't have room for it. And now if you told me we're going to take this piece out, this community is going to be gone, I'd be like, no, I'm done. Okay, no. But at the beginning I was like, oh, I don't even have room for this. But oh no, I did. You have room for what you need. Yeah. Yeah. I don't need. So I went on a tangent there, but I want you to talk about our community and what it's meant to you and how you've seen your business grow over this past year because of that community.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And God, it's just amazing. I mean, so cool listening to you share the story and Christina, I know Christina and I have talked about this a little bit, but at the exact same time she was going through what she just said, I, on my end, had 2 really deep best friend type of friendships sort of drift away or fall apart. And I was really sad and upset about that. And I was talking to the Lord about it, just sort of the heartbreak that I was feeling. And he just said, I remember him just saying to me, don't worry about it. I'm making room. You're going to need to make room. And I knew what he was saying as far as he's bringing new people in, but I'm the same as Christina, where I love everybody. I can pour out to everybody, but I wear so many hats in my day-to-day life that I have to keep a smaller circle because I only have so much that I can let people into or feel safe letting people into. And so when he removed some of those bigger influences in my life out, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Who am I going to be real with? And then all of a sudden he starts moving Willessa, she said, into place. Autumn from Prayed Over Pieces. She was another one that right away just came in. And then Christina kept coming up time and time again. And I almost was like, my friend, can I be your friend? Well, I just couldn't believe it was happening, and it sounds so silly now saying that, it sounds so silly, but looking back in it, I was really stuck on that whole, like, these people that you watch on TV don't get to be your friends. And she just kept showing up time and time again, and not in a pushy way. She wasn't pushing herself on me, but it was like she would just show up. Like I would get a Instagram message from her, or she'd respond to something, and I was like, oh my gosh, like she's really like following my stuff, like she's really commenting on my stuff. And so it was just beautiful how the Lord just brought it back around, and he really was making room for this community that we have right now. And it is just so absolutely special. It blesses me every single day, without doubt. I'm constantly saying to my husband, I can't believe these people are my friends. But it's amazing. And it's good on so many levels. Not only do we share our lives with each other, our kids, our marriages, everything that we're going through in our day-to-day, we do this really weird business. We're in this really strange space that the majority of people around us cannot relate to at all. They have real surface questions. Normally, you're going to get asked how much money you make within the first 3 sentences of someone meeting you and learning that you're an influencer. It's very strange that people just throw that out, like, how much money do you make? I said the other day, I'm going to start asking people that after they ask me, because if they feel like it's okay to ask me, then I'm going to ask them. How much did you make last year? So it's something that you can't talk about with everybody, because not everybody really understands what goes into this business. So the fact that you can be surrounded by people that not only get you on like the day-to-day level, but also understand what you do for a living, it just adds this extra, it's the frosting on the top. It's just absolutely beautiful to have this, and it's necessary. It is so necessary. And I want to end with like some sort of word of encouragement on that if you don't have that, because I feel like people are going to listen to this and feel sad that they don't have something like that. But just press in and pray. And you've got, if you're an introvert, you're not going to like this part, but you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to start making connections with people that you feel you have similar interests to, or you're drawn to in some way. Just start the conversation. Put yourself out there, put the invite out for coffee. Like Christina was saying, she's like, I'm just an average person. To me, she was not an average person, but it took that sort of invite, like, hey, yeah, I'm going to be in town. I would love to hang out with you. I never would have thought that she would have said yes, but she said yes. And like those things happened. So like, you've got to just put yourself out there, get a little bit out of your comfort zone, and these connections will start coming into fruition. So it's really a beautiful thing. And I absolutely believe as mothers, as we go into this new space and new ages in our life, we need these people around us to help boost us up and keep us going.
Yeah. And I think you make a huge point here that just like is a light bulb that went off in my head, because what I think put our relationship on a trajectory is real in life, person to person meetups. Okay. I know you can't always do that, but FaceTime is a great tool, but it is not the same as meeting someone in person. It's not, because I'm thinking about, how do I know Walesa? How do I know Autumn? I met them at Haven.
Right.
And that fast forwarded me feeling safe enough to like, I want to be in this group and commit to this Zoom. But I don't know if I would have been that way if I hadn't met them in person. So, when people are asking me about like, oh, is Haven worth it? Oh, is Achieve worth it? To me, it's worth the price of admission to meet people face to face in real life. You never know. You never know what is going to come from those opportunities. And I could list 20 things that have happened to me that have been really influential in my business and my brand and building it from connections at those things. Like, do not take them for granted. Do not think I know everything, or like, these speakers don't sound that great. I don't know. I don't want to do that. Like, because that's not really what I want. I feel like I've learned everything. I took this course. Like there's something to be said about that face-to-face in real life meeting. And I cannot count the things that have happened from those opportunities.
Right. Yeah. It's just a deeper connection when you get to meet that person in person.
Yes. You're thinking about you, because poor Meggie. Like, I owe you the world, because for 2 years she was bearing all the weight of like my friendship, my life, everything that was going on, plus the business stuff, because she was my only when she came on as like my support person, not only was she doing work for me, but she literally had to digest all the verbal diarrhea stuff. Because I'm bearing that weight, bearing the weight of your business and your bottom line and getting the deals and everything on your shoulders is like unbearable. Okay. It's a company for a reason, because you need a company of people to bear the weight of that pressure. And so she was getting all of that until you guys came in the mix. And I feel like it's given freedom in our relationship for it to not be, I feel like we talk about my business a lot less than we used to. Do you?
I think so.
Like, I don't agree.
But I guess I didn't feel that way beforehand.
Okay, well, you're right. It's because she's
sweet.
Meggie's a gem. She's so kind.
Meggie is a gem. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way beforehand, but I can see how you would have.
Yeah. But now me and Meggie have our own baby that we talk about all the time, which so maybe that's why you feel like that weight has not been lifted, because we're constantly talking about Cypress Room and what we want to do next and all that.
Enjoy talking about those things, which is why we created the podcast.
That's true. Because we were doing it anyways. We're like, let's just hit record and let everybody else talk about it too.
Like talking about and hashing it out and like strategizing and talking about what people are doing in the industry. And
oh my gosh, that's a really good point, Meggie.
So
she loves that stuff.
I do. I never felt it as a burden, because that truly is something I love, and why this podcast is so fun for me, because I like to know the behind the scenes of what goes into what we're watching on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I like to hear people's processes and how they move through hard times and hard situations, and how Kara approaches brand deals versus how you do versus how Delancey does, whoever we're talking about. So,
so cool. Oh my God.
Like,
this has just been so fun. And like, honestly, if you've made it this deep in the podcast, you're a real one. And this is like, I've ever really wanted to know, like, what is Christina really like? Or what, like, this is it. Okay, I'm sitting here with two people that know way more about me than they probably should. And we're not going to discuss all those things. We won't go there. Hopefully, like, y'all can feel that connection between us. And this is what happens when, and you shouldn't be vulnerable with everybody, okay?
No.
This is what happens when you have face people that love you and care for you. And this is what real friendship looks like. And if you're craving real friendship, and if you see this and you're like, I don't have that, like, trust me, it is out there for you. It's something that I've prayed for. It's something that I've cried out for. It's something that I've had really dry seasons that I'm like, I'm not enough. I'm unlovable. I'm never going to have these close friendships that take me deeper, like in areas that I want to go. And I just want to tell you that they exist. And as a 43-year-old woman, it's been a lot of prayer and a lot of desert season to get here. And it takes a lot of work too. It takes a lot of, being vulnerable, apologizing when you mess up. It takes all of that. It's not just rainbows and sunshine. I feel like I keep saying that phrase a lot lately, but these ladies are real ones. And if they're out here for me, I believe those people are out there for you. And it just not blesses your personal life, but it can bless your business and the other things and your family life and the things that you're putting your hands to. So my prayer for you is that if you don't have people like this, that you find them, because these women are gold and I love them so much. And I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. And I wouldn't have as much joy if these two weren't in my life. So
and that's very true. It can make your experience in content creation, in owning a small business, that much richer, that much more meaningful and rewarding to get to walk the journey alongside other people. So the awkwardness, the effort, the putting yourself out there is worth it. And even if you experience rejection along the way, I just encourage people, keep trying, keep putting yourself out there. Don't get discouraged, because you will find your people. So
pretty.
So good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now it's time for our favorite things segment.
Okay.
Who's going first?
Oh boy.
I've probably heard all of these, but I'm excited to have our,
I'll go first. Okay, you ready? This is absolutely my favorite thing, and that if this broke tomorrow, I'm ordering a second one, and they're inexpensive. This is going to show you how old I am. It is one of these really cozy heating pads, and it's small. It's small. And you know why? I got totally influenced to buy this from another influencer. So in the morning, she's one of those like get ready with me people. And she takes this and she puts it on her pillow and turns it on before she does her Bible study. And it just like soothes and relaxes your muscles before you get out of bed. It's so awesome. So yeah, it's got like this little thing that you set the heat and the timer on it. And it's really little. It just balances on the back of your pillow so you can lean up against it. And it's perfect for just like getting up in the morning, those little aches and pains. I absolutely love this thing. I love it. My daughter steals it from me all the time. I had to go get it from her room before we started the podcast. So it's something everyone in my house uses. And I would buy it again tomorrow if someone broke it.
Perfect. I think your YouTube followers would love that recommendation as well, too.
You would.
Okay, my favorite thing is actually a gift that Kara just sent me because because when I send her messages or whatever, I have my phone just sitting like in my cup holder and it's like at the ceiling and I'm sending her a message and she sent me a car holder. Why have I never had a phone holder?
Ooh, I haven't either. I need to see this.
Well, and
I'll send you one, Meggie.
So like if you have a low dashboard, it has like a 3M thing that you can like stick it to the top of the dashboard, but it also has a feature where you can just clip it on right onto your Air thing. And because I have an SUV, it's like at the perfect thing where I can just plug it in. It sits right there. If I need to do something real quick, I can do it hands-free, which I should have been doing things for a long time in my car. Like, I know people are going to be like, Della, Christina, we've all had.
We've had those for years.
Forever. But like, I'm sure Kara did research or has bought that one before.
I own it. It's in my car. Yeah.
Very cool. It was Kara approved. So this is actually one of her recommendations too.
There you go.
I've obviously been using it every day. And it has this thing on it where it clamps it, but to release it really quick, you just push this button and pull it out, and it helps right in. So no matter what your phone size is, it's going to fit the perfect size. And then you don't have to mess with it to get it out and pull it, and it gets all messed up. You just click this button, and it pops right out. Yes. So,
and I don't have to look at a cup holder anymore.
Thank you for sending that to me. I felt so bougie now.
Oh, my favorite thing. Kara, I am sort of along the same lines as you. Is I sit at a desk editing for a large portion of the day, and I actually have a heated blanket that I like drape over my chair and sit in so that I'm all like warm and cozy as I'm sitting there. And in fact, it is so warm and cozy, like my walking pad, it's hard for me to get up and actually use it because I'm like, oh, I'm just so cozy. I don't want to get up and walk. So I love it. And it's very similar to yours, except for it's like a full blanket that covers the whole chair, and I can adjust the heat setting. And then it kind of even pulls on the floor. So my dog sits on the heated part that's on the floor, thinks it's great.
Oh, I bet you love it.
He does love it.
Fun fact, Maggie's dog and my youngest son have the same name.
Yes.
If you're this deep in the podcast, you get to know my son's name. We digress. But Kara, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being on here. We loved having you in the Cypress Room, and just so much knowledge and so much wisdom. If you guys have any questions for Kara, feel free to leave them down in the comments. You can DM us on Instagram at Cypress Room Podcast. What is our handle? At Cypress Room. Okay. What is our email?
cypressroompodcast@gmail.com.
So there
you go.
All in the description box, but those are the 3 ways that you can get a hold of us if you have something that you want to ask us or tell us, or if you have something you want to ask Kara, maybe we'll have her on again.
Yes, I would love.
I'd be honored.
You can reach Kara in the description box as well, so you can be sure to go follow her over on YouTube.
Thank you so much, ladies.
And we'll link our favorite things down there as always. And we'll be back with another podcast soon. So thanks for joining us today in the Cypress Room.